Can it be turned up? I don't know who does that. Oh, yes? Oh, okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Oh yeah, I can hear it. That's better too. Oh boy. The joys and sorrows section is so powerful. Thank you, Jan, for inviting me again. And thank you, Judith, for the masterful hosting. And Yesenia for your music. And with all due honor and acknowledgement to Sigmund Freud, I call this talk Loneliness and Its Discontents. And you know that Freud, one of his most potent works, and one of his briefest, was entitled Civilization and Its Discontents. So I want to acknowledge him for helping me with the title. I'm going to get just a little bit. Oh, and wait, I've got to do this. Sorry, I'm just trying to pull it all together here. Okay. Loneliness in America is increasingly becoming an existential threat to our way of life. Why is loneliness increasing in our society? Something basic to our cultural mythology is shifting. The uncertainty felt by so many today encourages them to protect themselves with various security blankets that they believe will insulate them. What has infiltrated the cultural psyche is a radical imbalance between the inner life of the individual and the outer life of a culture that seems to be more and more in service of the few and not the many. That energy shift is felt deeply rather than being only a thought about current conditions. The result can be a furthering of self-absorption in thinking and acting. Many people also feel, and rightly, that they're being deceived by information coming at them which is often contradictory, even nonsensical, to a reflective person. The loss of self-reflection incites, in addition, I beg your pardon, because I've got things written in, and I shouldn't do that because I can't read my own writing, but it incites anxiety. In addition, information assaults us with such volume that it's become impossible to parse through it in a reflective attitude that quite simply takes time. And part of the weaponry against many of us is to allow no time. Speed of change has accelerated, often with no evidence. The feeling among many is that this rush of data, some true, some lies, is exhausting and can bring many back into their comfortable cocoon rather than engaging public spaces, which some writers believe have shrunk in popularity, public spaces. When desire for security takes precedence over a life of authenticity, loneliness can creep in to enhance that precedence because many feel that there is no safety net to break their fall. Another contributor is giving too much latitude to the ego's desires and wants. It can lead us into the material world only and into seeking meaning in goods, reputation, and rewards. The ego's perspective is narrow and limited, but for too many, it is sufficient for living comfortably daily. Yet even that is being eroded with fears of job loss, benefits, Medicare, Social Security. They are created to encourage anxiety and loneliness. One comes with the other. With anxiety comes loneliness. Another area related to this increase of social loneliness is based on the illusion of the myth of the autonomous individual. It's a myth meaning falsehood, which is the popular parlance for the word. And we know that back into prehistory, myths are forms of wisdom that organize experience so they can be comprehended. Many traditions, often non-Western, believe that we're inseparable from one another. And that came up today beautifully, that we are coexistent with others, not alone, not separate. And you all are a witness as an embodied community to that reality. One can give into hopelessness when living within such an ego position of being separate. These ideas of banding together in community with shared values that benefit all can be abandoned, but it's not going to happen here. When we disconnect from others in pursuits like the ones I've mentioned, we ask, are these causes or consequences of a life of increasing loneliness? Do they promote what they might better be refuting, questioning, and denying? Lack of sufficient information about change's purpose may further a sense of isolation. We don't know why these things are happening, and we're not given the information we need to understand it. That creates tremendous anxiety because it pulls the rugs of certainty out from under all of us. Left alone, individuals can fall into a trap of believing that one's life is absent any purpose. And with no one to talk to about meaningful matters, one can despair, become angry, bitter, jealous, envious, all in the process of creating a lonely, acidic heart. The heart becomes acidic. It's also a step closer to creating one's own hell, which I'll bring up in a minute. One source that amazed me appeared in the February issue of The Atlantic, and maybe some of you saw it. On the title was, on the cover of The Atlantic was the title, The Antisocial Century by Derek Thompson. It's magnificent. If you can get a copy, pull it up online. I can't encourage you enough to read it. Some of my thinking has been shaped by his article. He reveals many studies where we have become, for many, a to-go society. For example, restaurants that have in the past had tables for customers to order meals and enjoy conversations with friends or just being around others have turned into to-go only, where the tables are now used to line up bags of meals for customers to come in, pay for them, leave, without even conversing with those employees who prepared and bagged their meals. I wonder if people realize that what they are relinquishing as a social species who require a shared social reality like this to add meaning to their lives. So with the increase in anxiety comes a possibility of less and less feeling that my life means something. Many in the study said they like dining alone. Reason? I have to laugh. They need far more me time. A hidden narcissism where self-soothing divorces them from a larger social matrix. Exercising a self-imposed solitude, Thompson claims, is the most important social fact of the 21st century. Simply put, we need others to help us with our own interpretation of reality. Otherwise, we're all prone to fantasies. Failing those other points of view, we can become our own vampires, sucking the blood and energy out of ourselves. Self-vampirism, trying to get it out here, with no boundaries to such self-diminishment. Now, I just need, I'm so dry here this morning. Okay, here's the game plan as I see it that has been engineered of late, but perhaps it has a longer history. So I'm just going to recite these points. Make people more fearful and anxious. Make them that way. Encourage their retreat into privacy. Encourage it. Threaten those individuals who speak out. Feed them false narratives to tame them from individual thought, much less its expression. The narratives often have divisiveness as their mythic theme. I'm saying to you that divisiveness itself is mythic. It's archetypal. Sharpen the boundaries of who is in, who's out. Last one, belittle, threaten any banding together to create connections of kindness and generosity. Belittle those moments. Recently, I'm going to give you a personal example. Recently, my wife and I went to celebrate some good news that she received from her doctor. It was really a big deal, and I won't bother you with the details. So we went to our favorite haunt, Lupe's Tortilla Restaurant. When we settled in, ordered margaritas, and visited with the food servers we had grown to know over time, we both had our cell phones on the table turned upside down. Then in a moment of unconsciousness, this is this guy that thinks he's so aware. In a moment of my unconsciousness, I turned over my phone, telling Sandy I needed to check something. Before I knew it, I was on the phone for over 5 minutes. In that time, she sat there, patiently, waiting for me. I had left the building. I was not present. I wasn't engaged. I wasn't there. Technology drew me from our celebratory meal together. Suddenly, I realized what I was doing. It was really like coming out of a stupor. I became conscious of my absence. I turned off the phone. I just didn't turn it over. I turned the son of a gun off, put it upside down, and we entered a rich conversation. How subtle was my retreat. Yet, as the article exposes, the one that I've been mentioning, there are many positive social signals appearing. Small, privately owned bookstores are opening across the United States. People are coming there to have a bite to eat, to listen to an author, and to hang out at tables with others. Small restaurants are now reclaiming a customer base that comes to stay and eat. So some tide is shifting, but not fast enough. Counterforces are at work to divide us further. How many of you have still see in public places, for example, as we did the other day, a family of 4, parents, 2 siblings, all sitting at a table, all 4 on their phones. No word passing between them. I sense that they are lonely for one another, but have no social savvy to reclaim it, because this being at a same table with others, family, friends, but lost in the funhouse of the phone has become a form of consciousness. If we accept the opinion of a recent writer on the power of technology to govern our lives, his thought is borrowed from an early sociologist who coined the term social media. Get this, he coined it in 1836. He saw something going on in the culture. And here's what he came to. That society shapes the individual more than the other way around is the notion of an independent ego is an illusion. The word to notice here is illusion. Technology has facilitated not community, but the myth of individualism, where the individual withdraws into their own castle, pulls up the drawbridge so to protect themselves from other influences not in agreement with theirs. Now, these metaphors, I hope, are making the point here. I believe they are. Now, it becomes more complicated when we witness how the term flooding the zone becomes a political strategy to send tsunamis of information, largely undocumented, with evidence, with such speed, that's another topic for another conversation, that we're not allowed time to sort through and meditate on what it actually means. See, I think meaning itself is under assault. Meaning itself is under assault. Then the alternative is to push through the various media channels so many claims that it creates high levels of anxiety, which over time, along with self-doubt, I can't figure out what I'm supposed to believe anymore. I'm beginning to doubt myself. And I claim that this is all engineered. And I try to keep my paranoia, within boundaries. I don't think it's paranoia. So over time, along with self-doubt, not belonging, not fitting in, that beautiful book, this was a joy to listen to Judith read, can bring one to capitulate to the flood of information, true or not. In other words, you see what can happen. The truth can be turned off because the inability to discern, because the information is coming in tsunamic quantities. Another sociologist of culture, come on, David Reisman, found that an early French writer who toured the US in the 19th century, Alexis de Tocqueville, coined the term individualism. I think he was like 26, 28 years old when he came from France. And he read us like the book that we are. And he says, individualism is one of America's maladies. It led people to withdraw into themselves, concerned about family and friends at the expense of becoming engaged in the public sphere. How long has this engineering been going on? I ask myself. Loneliness, the power of the crowd, can make people worry about why they don't fit in. Loneliness can spring just as easily from self-doubt, from losing heart, from feeling that one has been marginalized. Reisman believes solidarity is a necessity for people who are left out. And I don't know if I mentioned his title. David Reisman wrote a classic sociological treatise called The Lonely Crowd. The Lonely Crowd. Can we then learn to dwell in solitude without feeling lonely, as one writer has asked? Let's see here if I'm going to be okay. I'm going to skip, So I cite then Donald Kalsched's magnificent book, Trauma in the Soul, in which he uses Dante's Inferno to show souls isolated and alone and feeding on themselves until they come to the, Dante and Virgil come to the narrowing pit of dis, D-I-S, which is Dante's term for disassociation. So Kalsched asks us, look at some of the words in your vocabulary beginning with dis, and I'm going to give you a handful kind of quickly. Dispossessed, dishonored, disappear, disorder, dismemberment, disintegrate, disembodied, distance, disremember, disown, dishonor, disingenuous, disconnect, disassociate, disenchanted, disaster. And you could add to the list. Dis, separation, division. Okay, so I'm going to skip over now to this, to the last part. Readings, quiet. I just need 2 more minutes. Can I do it? I mean, the AI here is telling me what to do, and I'm trying to be polite, but I'm ready to drop the phone on the floor, too. Readings from many writers on Buddhist psychology, as you know, and spirituality, as well as poets, give us sets of stories that benefit us through the exercise of compassion. So in periods of loneliness, spread your world out to thinking of all those who have suffered the same shame, violence, and dislocation. It's a healthy antidote to loneliness and further self-administering of shame. And then I'm going to just end with this, but not quite, because I have a poem by Emily Dickinson, which is short. James Hollis's writings have been a boon to me. At one point in his book, Hauntings, he asked the reader to reflect. Reflect on the power of the ever-living, the vampiric complexes that attach themselves to our souls and leech our spirits away. It's the kiss of death. And I would add, kiss it back, and it will lose some of its dissing energy. And then I end with an 1861 poem written by Emily Dickinson entitled, Hope is the Thing with Feathers. You know it. Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all. And sweetest in the gale is heard, and sore must be the storm that could abash the little bird that kept so many warm. I've heard it in the chillest land and on the strangest sea, yet never in extremity it asked a crumb of me. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you.